we've generated $7.8 billion in reported client revenue. And everyone's like, how come you haven't updated that number in so long? And it's like,
Yeah.
because I'm not like another guru that just guesses the number. Like I actually like audit the clients and get the client reported revenue.
From selling ink cartridges at 16 to building King Kong and becoming one of Australia's most recognized performance marketers, this is Sabri Suby.
What was the thing that clicked? What was the change? Was it a script? Was it a pitch? Was it an attitude?
The founder of that business pulled me aside and he was like, look, you've got great work ethic. I think you're a very promising young man. However, you just suck at sales. And so I'm going to give you another week to turn this around. And if you can't figure out how to do this stuff, then unfortunately, we're going to have to call it a day.
What do you look for in a pitch? Let's talk about the first one you invested in. Tell me about that business, that person, and what it was that tipped you over the edge for them.
Yeah, so the first thing that I look for in a pitch is like,
Business owners, quick question. Are you still trying to scale by selling harder? Most of the founders I speak to hit a wall, a glass ceiling where they get to a certain amount of revenue and organic growth just doesn't work anymore. My name's Jeremy Harbour. I've completed over 200 acquisitions. I've advised on 300 plus deals, and I've taken over 100 companies public across 12 different countries. And here's what I've learned. You don't need to run the marathon. You can just run the last 10 yards and you still get a trophy. Realistically, you could walk into almost any business off the street and structure a no money down deal. Inside the Harbour Club, you're going to get 16 proven no money down strategies, a quarterly 3-day workshop in the UK or the US, and annual members only networking events that you can come along to. And you get access to our complete document library with all the deal templates, guides, direct advice, and joint venture opportunities that exist. If you're serious about breaking through your growth ceiling and you want to learn how entrepreneurs really scale their businesses, there's an application link below. Click to speak to my team and we'll check if you're a good fit for the community. Hey, wonderful. So I'm joined with Sabri Suby, who you might know from Shark Tank in Australia. But if you don't know, you're about to find out a lot more about him. He has a very successful agency called King Kong. Is that a nod to guerrilla marketing? Is it like a play on words or?
no, I just, when I started my business, like everyone had like these really boring names for digital agencies. They were like, oh, Page One is one, like a name of an agency. I was like,
Yeah.
nobody is going to remember that. But if you basically are in a conversation, you're never going to forget that there's an agency called King Kong that looks after your marketing. So
True.
it was creating a brand in a space that has no brands.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I'm sure that it's definitely memorable for sure. So, look, tell me a little bit about life pre-King Kong. What's the origin story of Sabri? So,
Sure,
unusual name, by the way. What's the origin of your name?
Yeah, it's Arabic. It means patience,
Perfect.
which I have none of. Quickly. I was raised in a small beach town by a single parent mother. I watched my mum hold down 3 jobs to kind of provide an incredible upbringing for me and my sister. Then got my first job in sales at 16. I was selling ink cartridges over the phone in a converted shipping container with like 15 people crammed into it. We didn't have computers. It was literally, we had lead lists that we would pick up the manual telephone and manually dial the phone numbers and called it. And then I did that. I sucked really badly. And then I became the #1 salesperson there. Then when I was 18, I moved over to London for 2 years and sold everything that you can imagine, one-to-one, over the phone, one-to-many. And basically did that for in all these different industries and was always the #1 salesperson at every company that I ever worked for. And then kind of that led me to kind of fall down the rabbit hole of business. I spent many years on the front lines of capitalism, getting my teeth kicked in, asking strangers for money all day long. And then I thought, hey, I've been doing this for a long time, doing the hardest thing, which is to make the cash register ring. How about I just go and do this for myself? There's a lot that went in between that, but that's kind of what led me to start my first business.
Yeah, do you know, it's a really common kind of story as well, sales morphing into entrepreneurship, because obviously if you're generating the revenue for the company, if you're having that impact on the company, there's a point where you go, shit, I could do this
And if you're willing to take abuse all day long.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess being told no is just part of the DNA for a salesperson, and so it's a
Yeah,
very
that's the polite way of saying it. I got told a lot more than things than that. A lot more colorful, let me say.
yeah. No, I did door to door, so you get occasional violence.
Yeah.
What's the you mentioned there you're sitting in this shipping container with a bunch of people, boiler rooming it up, trying to sell ink cartridges, and you said you were terrible at it, and then you became the #1 salesperson. What was the thing that clicked? What was the change? Was it a script? Was it a pitch? Was it an attitude? What flipped?
Well, look, I was
being great at it.
Yeah, I think that I was hired along with 2 other women, and they were both better than me.
Mhm.
And I was following the script that they had given us.
Mm-hmm.
And the emphasis on that was really like telling them about the company, why we're calling, we're here to save the planet, all the turtles, we don't want anything happening to the animals. And then I felt like that was obviously a very righteous thing. I was following the script. And then I realized, like after 2 weeks into it, when I wasn't doing very well, the founder of that business pulled me aside and he was like, look, you've got great work ethic. I think you're a very promising young man. However, you just suck at sales. And so I'm going to give you another week to turn this around. And if you can't figure out how to do this stuff, then unfortunately, we're going to have to call it a day. And they didn't leave us just all by ourselves with no training, but that was more or less it. And then I remember walking home that night, being raised in a small beach town called Byron Bay. There isn't any opportunities in that market. So it's like you're either working in a restaurant as, someone washing the dishes, or you're working in tourism. Like this was like the only sales job that I could find. And the only reason I applied for it is there was an ad in the newspaper that said earn up to $1,500 a week, no experience required. Yeah. And so I remember walking home and thinking like, if I lose this job, it's going to suck really bad. And so it was a bit of a moment of desperation. And I was like, I'm just going to go in tomorrow and I'm going to do something that is my intuition. I'm not going to listen to what other people say. These people, they do not give a shit about me, right? Like their eyes glaze over the moment I start talking about the company. I can just hear them checking out. So I just basically was slowly tweaking what I would say on the opener, and I just changed the entire pitch to be 100% about the person on the other end of the line and what they care about, and not about my company. And so I was spending 80% of the time talking about what it is that they want and not trying to introduce us, what we do, no saving the planet, none of that stuff. It was like, I would call them up and be like, listen very attentively to the first word that came out of their mouth, which was always their name and then their company. And then I'd be like, hi, Sally, it's Sabri here. And then I would quickly mention the name of the company that I was calling for. And I'll be like, just a quick question for you. Do you guys use a Brother printer in your office? And then they're like, either say that or another brand. They're like, yeah. And I'm like, cool. The company I'm calling from, we actually want to send a courier to your office today to actually buy back your empty ink cartridges off you. There's nothing that you need to do. All I need you to do is to step up, walk over to the printer and give me the model number. It's on the side. And then I will send you $200 once we collect those. And there was no permission asked. It was very intentional. It was all about them. Yeah. And that was the lead in, where the script that I had was like, I'm calling from this company and we're here because we're saving the planet and we're buying people's recycling or their ink cartridges back and blah, 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 blah. I was like, these guys don't care about that.
What? This is really good advice for any entrepreneur out there, because the number of calls I get now, getting somebody's attention on a phone is super hard. Because I mean, for the most part, the second you figure out they're trying to sell you something, click, it's over. So if you've got their attention, don't waste it talking about you, talk about the problem. The number of people that go, we're the biggest, we're the longest established, we're fucking awesome is basically their whole pitch. And actually that's the same as their website. It's the same as their social media. So all of their social media is about how awesome they are. Their website, you go onto the website, the landing page, the first place you land, it's all about how long they've been going, how much revenue they've done, how many customers they've served, what fucking college the CEO went to. It's all stuff that is super irrelevant when it comes to the decision-making process to buy an ink cartridge.
Yeah, and I often say that like people are reading your sales copy with their cursor on the back button,
Yeah.
right? And it's the same thing on a sales call. Like they are listening to you with their finger just about to hang up the dial.
Mm.
And most people think that they've got this unlimited amount of time to catch that prospect and like convert their attention. It's very, very limited. And so you need to be thinking about that with any marketing message that it is that you're doing, whether you're on the phone, whether you're running a Facebook ad, you've got a VSL. It's like these people have things to do that are infinitely more important or entertaining than the shit that you're trying to tell them. So you better know how to hold their attention.
Yeah, I mean, I had a telecoms company for years, and telecoms is like a commodity. You know, it's very hard to differentiate, and so we would
I've
always
sold it.
have we would always have our USP. You know, and I realized, you know, somebody asked me once, "Who's your biggest competitor?" And I said, "Apathy." Nobody gives a shit. You know, that's the biggest competitor. You have to get yourself on the giving a shit radar with those clients, and it's really tough, and it's more important than all of that other fluff. So this is really useful stuff, I think, for people that are listening. I mean, you've gone through this process. You figured out this is how you sell stuff. This is how it works. Were any of the sales jobs after that then in the marketing space? Did you work for a marketing agency?
I went to London. I sold wills over the telephone. I sold mobile payment devices. I sold Sky Television. I sold TalkTalk, which was a telecommunications company.
Oh, Jesus, it worked for me at some point. I owned loads of call centers in the UK selling TalkTalk.
There you go. So like, yeah, I've sold everything. Then when I actually moved back to Australia, I enrolled myself in a marketing degree that I gravely like completely regret because it wasn't worth more than the piece of paper that they printed it on. And while I was at university, I worked at a company that was selling Google AdWords at the time. And one day when I was on the telephone, somebody asked me, hey, I don't want to do Google ads. I don't click on the ads. I want to get on the organic listings on the left-hand side of the page. Can you help me do that? And me, being the very ambitious, optimistic salesperson that I was, I said, absolutely, we can do that for you. It's $750 a month. Got off the telephone, went over to the founder and said, hey, I just sold your first SEO client. And they said, well, we don't sell SEO, so you better figure out how to do that. And then I kind of fell down the rabbit hole and started learning about SEO and all kind of digital marketing. And then it was over a summer break and I thought, hey, I'm selling like 5 accounts a day on this stuff. Why don't I go and just do this myself? And I did that over a summer break. By the end of the summer break, it was a 3.5-month break. I had 12 employees, multiple clients. I think I was doing like 50 or 60 grand a month in revenue and was like, why would I go back to university and learn about business when I already have a business? So I dropped out of university. I built that business up with a business partner, ended up selling that. And then I did a whole bunch of different businesses along the way.
Okay, fantastic. So tell me about that. That was pre-King Kong then. That was not the birth of King Kong.
No.
So that means King Kong has a mother. Hang on. So that first business, what sort of size did you get that to? Who was the?
I got that to just over a million, just about over $1 million. And I had 16 employees. Knew nothing about business, knew nothing about leadership or building teams at that stage. And I had a business partner that was older than me at the time, and we were just in different stages of our life. And so I just basically made the decision to kind of sell the business. We sold that. Then I started up a group buying website with the AFL, which is the equivalent of like the Premier League or the NFL in the States, and signed up a bunch of companies for that, raised a bit of venture capital, and then ran that business. Decided to not go on and do a Series B or a Series C because I saw the deal fatigue on the wall in the group buying site. So we wound up that businesses. Then I had some e-commerce business. I sold them. I ran some of them into the ground. And basically in all of those businesses, I was always tasked with the number one problem that all businesses face, which is how do I get more customers? And this was the thing that I just became obsessively focused on, is like learning, like I did the one-to-one selling, and then I had to master one-to-many selling and learning direct response and ads and funnels and everything that came off the back of it. And through that journey, I had to hire agencies. All of them were bad, and was like, look, like, this is a massive opportunity. And just like, people in the age of the gold rush, there was a bunch of people that made a lot of money selling the shovels and the spades to the people that were going to go and do the mining, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I saw a big opportunity in the digital marketing space where it's just so many agencies out there that have absolutely no idea what they're doing. And that was where I kind of made the decision to start King Kong and offer that service that I had mastered to many clients.
Quick break to tell you about my free 21-day email course on acquisition entrepreneurship. If you've ever wondered how people buy businesses without massive amounts of capital, this might be just the thing you've been looking for. Amongst other things, you're going to learn how to find 6- and 7-figure off-market opportunities, how to build rapport with motivated sellers, how to put together no money down deal structures, how to use insolvency law and do distressed acquisitions, how to do financial engineering, cash flow strategies, and handling inquiries that turn leads into closed deals. Most importantly, how you manage risk and protect yourself in these situations. I've completed over 200 acquisitions personally using these exact methods that I'm now sharing with you. It's completely free, and the link's below. You'll get 1 lesson per day for 21 days. If you're serious about learning M&A, start there. Yeah. So you kind of you started with an agency, and then you had a bit of a walkabout, and then you came back to a refined agency model, I guess. And the original business, did you sell that to another agency? Did you sell that to another marketing
Yes.
company?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're obviously, I'm in M&A, and my solution to everything is a deal. If you look at marketing, it's a fascinating industry because, I mean, the big 4 players, WPP, Dentsu, Publicis, Omnicom, are just massive roll-ups. I mean, WPP has done 2,600 acquisitions in its history. And actually, if you look at the top 200 agencies, I mean, this is going back a few years, but when we did an analysis of that industry, only one of the top 200 globally is an organically grown agency. All the rest have grown through acquisition. And so it seems like if you're in the agency business, you're either buying or you're selling.
Correct.
There's not much going on.
Yeah, I think strength is in the numbers for agencies. Like an agency, I often say, is like running a business on nightmare mode. Like it's a very difficult business to run at a certain scale, and that's why most agencies kind of get stuck at like the 3 to 4 million in revenue. Is because it becomes a completely different beast. Like above 10 and 20 and $30 million in revenue, and so I think a lot of people either make the decision to kind of sell and move on, and then the ones that are going are the ones that are just like swallowing up other agencies and building it, and it's a strength in numbers game.
Yeah, I mean, you see that in a lot of industries. There's a plateau that's quite easy to get to, but quite hard to break through. And acquisition is a great way of breaking through because it's kind of instant scale. But again, what I see with marketing agencies is that they either over leverage on their acquisitions, so they're borrowing too much money and they get themselves in a pickle because the business really is, you're only as good as your last month's sales. There's, whilst you can have people for a year, you can't have people for 5-10 years unless you're constantly delivering an excellent service. So you see them take on a lot of risk that way. And the other thing is, because they're in marketing, they're obsessed with rebranding everything. So they buy this agency that's got a 10-year history and a great name, and then give it a different name, so no one knows them anymore. And they give them a new website and a new logo, and they fuck around with all these kind of trimmings around the edges instead of leveraging the value that they've just bought. So yeah, we see that a lot in the agency space. So tell us about, King Kong, the idea, the execution. Ideas are one thing, execution is everything. Whenever we're doing deals, we always talk about, the biggest risk of any business is execution risk, how you actually do it. You clearly have this kind of performance marketing. I understand you basically supply people and they don't pay you if you don't perform. Is that right? It's proper performance marketing. So yeah, give us that kind of outline.
Yeah, sure. I guess like at the end of the day, like we're in the business of getting our clients more clients. And so we are not like other agencies that report on vanity metrics or like this is the brand lift, this is how many impressions you got. And that was why I started my business, out of frustration of dealing with agencies were like that. And I was like, I don't know about you, but the last time I checked, I couldn't pay any team members with impressions. And so I always want to talk in the hard facts, unit economics. What is the customer acquisition cost? What's the LTV? What is the payback period on getting customers? And solving this really hard problem Like most people underestimate how hard it is to turn advertising into profit. And when you work with agencies, it's like you either work with like a Facebook ads agency and they're like, oh, your website is shit or your funnel's not converting or whatever it might be. Or vice versa, you go with a web design agency that knows nothing about conversion or direct response or knowing like human psychology. And so they build you a website that looks pretty and doesn't convert. And so we wanted to be that end stop that we could go to somebody and just solve that problem and basically install a selling system into their business, from running the ads to building the funnel to helping them with the offers to giving them the script that they need to actually convert these leads into customers, and say, hey, if we don't hold up our end of the bargain, then we simply don't get paid. Right? So that shows that we've got skin in the game. And the beautiful thing about us is, like, I use my agency as a guinea pig, and all of the things that I talk about doing, I am doing myself. Like, I'm running every type of funnel. I'm running it in 136 different countries. We've got low ticket, high ticket, free offer funnels, free plus shipping. We've got webinars. We've got courses, agency, and SaaS. So it's like we're doing them all, and we're doing them all at a violent scale. And so we basically take what applies for our business, we see what works, and then we roll that out across our portfolio of clients.
Cool. And I mean, obviously, so you're doing it with agency, SaaS, and courses, and then presumably the types of clients you attract are in those similar sectors, or are there niches or?
Oh, there's every niche. We've built
Specifically impactful?
2,000 funnels in 1,000 different niches.
Right.
So everything that you can name it, we pretty much run.
Right. Okay. And what's your criteria for taking on a new client? I mean, presumably they have to pay a good chunk up front, and you're just guaranteeing it in the back end. So
Yep.
they have to be of a kind of specific scale, I'm guessing.
Yeah, look, like I'd say our ideal client, most of our work, 70% of our work is lead gen, 30% is e-commerce. Either we're talking about on the lead gen, it's like typically you should be doing $1 million a year in revenue. You've got a sales team. You're in the car, it's moving, it's working, and you just want to go a lot faster. Then our model works perfectly. Obviously, if you're substantially bigger than that, even better. We want businesses that can scale. And the thing is, with lead gen, if you do a really good job, that can create a new constraint in the business, which is that we don't have enough salespeople to deal with the leads. So we like people that already have they have a sales team that aren't busy enough, and they want to keep these guys run off their feet so they have no time to even go to the bathroom. Then we're the agency that steps in. Or if you're an e-commerce business, you're running at a certain scale, so it's $100,000 a month, and every time you try to increase your ad spend, your ROAS dips, everything goes to hell in a handbasket, and you're like, man, I can't get past this plateau. Then we come in, we fix your average order value, we increase the LTV, we increase the front end conversion rate, so you can really scale that e-commerce business very, very aggressively. Most people just focus on the tip of the spear, the ads and the traffic. They think they got a traffic problem, when at the end of the day, there's no shortage of traffic on the internet. You can just get a credit card and go to Facebook. Trust me, they'll give you as much traffic as you can handle. The issue is that they just don't have the ability to actually convert that traffic.
Yeah.
So we don't like to hide anywhere. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing when it doesn't work because you're stark naked out in the cold. There's nowhere to hide. And then obviously when things do work, it's amazing because you can see the real material impact that you have on people's lives.
Yeah. So, and I presume with your kind of guarantee, you can guarantee leads, but you're guaranteeing sales, because I mean, ultimately then there's the competence of the sales team and the management.
Correct.
Starts to come into effect. So you guarantee the lead side, but maybe
we guarantee a 30% reduction in either cost per lead or customer acquisition cost.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, that's a no-brainer then, really, for people. So, I mean, that business is obviously growing like crazy. It's still your core business. What are your plans with that? Are you going to go down that traditional agency model and buy everybody in sight, or are you going to keep scaling that organically? Where's the
Yeah, I think like it's stuff. I'm entertaining all options right now. To be honest, like there's a lot of opportunities that come across my desk, but a lot of the time when you do look at businesses, depending on the sector and the operator, most of them are like, you're looking to really acquire the team in there, because if I look at forking out money on a multiple of EBITDA for most businesses, when you've got like a well-oiled marketing machine like I do, the debate comes to, could I just go out and buy their customers in 12 months? right? So then it really needs to come with a really good team attached to it. And unfortunately, most of the businesses that I would be looking at acquire, that are anywhere between like the $3 to $5 million range, they just don't have very good operators. That's why they're doing $3 to $5 million.
Yeah, yeah. So how long after starting King Kong did the Shark Tank opportunity appear?
I think it was 6 years or so after doing that.
Yeah. And how did that come up? Did they write to you? Did you write to them? Did it?
Yeah, they wrote to me. It came through. I thought it was like some Nigerian prince offering me to send me some money at first. Their producers called me on pretty much every channel. They slid into the DMs. They reached me on LinkedIn. They called my office. They called my assistant. We're like, we want to speak to Sabri about being on a national television show. And then naturally, I was like, get more details because there's always random strangers calling me up asking me for things. And then they were like, no, we can't tell you anything, but it's legit. And then so I jumped on a call, and then that was when I figured out it was a Shark Tank. And it's all very secretive. They all keep you in the dark. They don't tell you who the other sharks are or anything like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how that came about.
Cool. And I mean, how has that been? Because I mean, in personal branding terms, that's like A-list kind of, entrepreneur source, isn't it? In terms of, creating that influence and attention. Have you found it just has a huge positive impact across all the businesses? Or?
Definitely. There's definitely like it gives you definitely an air of legitimacy that is very hard to replicate without traditional media. Like it's like as much as digital is obviously disrupting everything, when you're on a national television show with a franchise like Shark Tank, it's like these producers are vetting everything, right? They're looking at your P&Ls, they're looking at everything that you're doing because they can't be behind some scandal or somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. So when you have all of those things in place, that also adds weight to it. Like it's things that you can't buy to be on it. You know what I mean? So you can buy to be on ads, but you can't buy the money to be a shark on Shark Tank. So it definitely does add a lot of credibility.
Yeah. And I mean, prior to Shark Tank, had you done any kind of angel, investing or anything like that?
Yeah, I have. I think that like that's one of the biggest pros of having like an agency business is that like, I'm able to kind of fix the number one problem that all these businesses have. And so like obviously there's one side of it was just giving somebody dumb money and just being like, hey, you need to grow. But like if you know what you're doing with marketing, then you don't really need to go out and raise a lot of money because you can just do, customer funded acquisition. If you have the ability to recoup that cash in 30 days and you understand how to have a front end and a back end and orchestrate all the unit economics, then you can fix a lot of that. So it might be like, hey, this is the last check you're ever going to need.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm gonna come in with my business and I can plug it in. So, I have a very, very unique vantage point. There's not many businesses that I know or individuals that have the inside look to over 2,000 businesses and have built 2,000 funnels and see their ad accounts, know their back end, know their profit margins, their ROAS, everything. And so like it's a very unique position to be in where you can install a lot of that know-how into a business. Like I've got my finger on the pulse across all of these different markets in all these different countries. So that is very smart money.
Yeah, yeah. So when we're looking to acquire a business, we have kind of 10 things we look at that that have to exist in order for it to be a deal for us. And I presume when you're listening to a pitch in Shark Tank, you have your criteria about the person that you're going to be involved in, because ultimately business is about people. And as I said earlier, execution risk is also about people and their ability to execute. And then I guess how you could see yourself marketing their service. I mean, what do you look for in a pitch? Let's talk about the first one you invested in. Tell me about that business, that person, and what it was that tipped you over the edge for them.
Yeah, so the first thing that I look for like in a pitch is like, do they have the ability to come out and present an idea in a clear and coherent way?
Yeah.
And the first thing that that's the first thing, okay, cool. I kind of sit back, listen to their pitch. Then the real magic happens after that. So first of all, of course, their pitch has been rehearsed for many weeks before they're on air. So like, there's no excuses to if that is good or not. If it's not good, we're not going to be doing much together. Then the second thing is I'm really ferreting out and I'm looking for excuses. I'm looking for someone that is going to have a claim to a lack of resources or certain situations that has resulted in their business not being to where that they want to be. And the moment that I start to see that, that is the first red flag for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, because we all know that there is somebody else out there that despite all of those things is successful. So if you're already looking for things that are outside of your control as to why you're not successful, you're not the kind of person that I want to be in business with. So when I see somebody that's come out and they're like, this happened to me, but then I did this. And I grew up and I was raised by a single parent mother, had no money. I did the markets on Sunday, rolled up my bootstraps, and that's how I funded this business. But then I had no money for ads, so I started putting out content on YouTube and we're at 50 grand a month. I'm like, all right, this is the kind of person, because I know if everything's gone right, and you've got this amazing story and there's no hardship that you had to go through, I know the storms are coming.
Yeah.
So I want to know how you weather the storms. I don't want to know how, as they say, like calm seas never made for a skilled sailor. So I want to put you in rough water. I want the waves breaking up against the boat. I want you sleeping on 3 hours a night and seeing how you respond, because we all know that either the competitors are coming, a problem's coming, there is some issue coming. And so they're the things that I'm really looking for, how they overcame that or the stories that they're telling themselves, because I'm in that unique position where I know a good business. Like I can see the unit economics, I know the CAC, LTV, and payback period. If I know those three numbers, and me being a student of markets and knowing markets, I know when it's a good business. And so the only thing that I'm wondering around now is, what is the executional risk of this person fucking this up? And if they haven't been through any trials or tribulations, I get very nervous.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually one of our 10 we call tested in fire, which is exactly that. So, we just bought a business that was sued for 2 years over intellectual property and won. Now, you don't want to be an investor just before they get sued for 2 years, but being an investor after they've been sued for 2 years and won is a much stronger position to be in. We had another company that was closed down during COVID. And then came out the other side, so those kind of tested in fire moments, that's where you test the mettle of the team and the management and their ability to adapt and to do stuff, because like you say, if they haven't been through that, it's coming. It's kind of like expect traffic. I can't tell you where the traffic's going to be, but there's definitely going to be traffic. So I love that. Also, that pitch thing is really important. I genuinely believe brevity is a superpower. If somebody can't give you a concise explanation or a concise answer to something, and I'm a waffler, I talk way too much, but if you can't,
it's the British in you.
It is, it must be. We're normally drunk, so but
yeah, the concise one's a big one. Like there was an episode of Shark Tank, and it was this AI school teacher who basically installs like an AI curriculum into schools for teachers. Phenomenal business idea, right? Teachers are overworked, underpaid, and if you can have a way to leverage AI to make their job easier, like all good. So we interrogated this guy for like 45 minutes, and he misrepresented that he had sales and he didn't have sales. And it's just like, at the end of it, I was just like, we were all frustrated, and it was the end of the day and I couldn't handle it anymore. I said, listen, just tell me, like, have you got any sales, bro? Like, stop talking about whether it's a purchase order or there's interest. We've asked you the same question 15 times. Has anyone deposited any money into your bank account, or has your merchant facility dinged any credit cards? No, I haven't. And I was like, I could never be in business with someone that I have to ask them the question 16 times to get to the answer. Like, just give me the source of truth.
Yeah, no, I think sometimes people are scared to rip off the Band-Aid and just come out with it. I mean, we were doing a roll-up in the IT services space, and we came across a company purporting to do 10 million a year in revenue. And when you finally get their numbers, they're doing 600 grand. Like, how did they expect to pull that one off?
We have a order
you're
of
talking
intent.
to an acquirer. Surely, at some point, you've got to broach the topic of you not actually being anywhere near what you purported to be. I mean, it's insane what people do. So, and then I also love this, the excuses one. It's actually a really, really good point, because I think accountability, self-responsibility, this idea the fish stinks from the head down, is this, you've got to take ownership of stuff, is actually, I think, a massive problem. And you see it a lot more with the younger generation. The younger entrepreneurs. I guess maybe it's just inexperience, and they're just earlier on in the journey rather than a sign of the times. But they're always looking for why it's everybody else's fault. The baby boomers had it easy, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm always pointing out to them that there's been no other point in history where you can produce content for free. You can be in front of millions of people for free. You can create websites for free. You can, everything. There are so many resources and tools to entrepreneurs.
Business has never been easier, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're looking for excuses, you're gonna find them. But like
Yeah.
the thing that has always empowered me, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. Like that's what it is at the end of the day. Like you can't look at anything else outside of your own power to either all the success that you've got or all the success that you haven't received.
Yeah.
Everybody's self-made. Only the successful people want to admit it.
Yeah. No, that's very true. Everyone has that same 24 hours in the day. And I'll also look, I think there's obviously luck. You've got to put yourself in luck's way. You've got to do things to be lucky. You've got to buy the lottery tickets to win the lottery. But so many, when I look at very successful people in my own community, there's always an element of luck. Something happened at a particular time. They're in right place, right time, and available to receive the luck. But there is always this little element of luck. And I think sometimes we dwell a lot on successful entrepreneur stories, trying to copy the wrong things. So we're looking at we're reading about Elon Musk in Forbes and trying to think, okay, maybe if I just took more ketamine, I'd be really successful. Whereas there are other factors at work in terms of timing and opportunity. And
yeah, I have a saying, it's like, you want to copy what people did on the climb, not once they're at the summit. Like everyone's looking at like, oh, like it's like the age-old advice is like, you want to have multiple income streams. And it's like, because that's what all these wealthy people do. And it's like, yeah, but they got their bag from having one massive liquidity event, and then they wanted to put their money to work, but they all made that bag from like one thing and going all in. So it's the age-old story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's kind of like asking that lottery winner. So, right, how do you choose your numbers? It's not really going to work. So, let's go back to the Shark Tank and that first investment. So the first one, or you can pick one if you don't want to talk about the first one, but the first company that you participated in, what did that company do? Where did you see the value?
Yeah, sure. It was these two young men that came in. I can't remember what if this was the first one or not, because what you see that goes to air wasn't the first one. You know what I mean? It's all jumbled up. But there was two young gentlemen that came in. They walked out. They were well dressed. Not that that usually means anything to me, but these guys, the business that they were selling was suit rental. They had a very, very compelling pitch. They were, high school friends. They'd started in a garage and scaled the business up. They had healthy profit margins, and it was in the wheelhouse that I like to operate in, which is e-commerce. And it was basically an online suit rental company where you go online if you don't want to buy a suit. For me, I don't own suits. This is the get-up. This is the attire that you see every day. That I wear. So I was like, okay, this is interesting. And then their pitch was great. They knew their numbers like nobody knows their numbers like these guys. So that was very, very impressive. They compelled me. And then I just saw that, like, look, this business is going. I know I can pour gasoline on this and I can blow this thing up. And these guys are very sharp operators, two young men. And so, yeah, we made the investment. It was me and another shark on that one. And that business has done very, very well. I think we ended up building them a funnel. We've tripled their business. Well, they've tripled the business with our help. We've entered into the UK as well. And I just had a call with them actually today, and things are going from strength to strength. But they had all the ingredients is what I want. They had a sharp pitch. They knew their numbers. They had been tested. They were in a business that operationally is not easy to run, because you have to have suit returns and dry cleaning and sending it all out. But they had done a phenomenal job, and they didn't have one single excuse.
Yeah, Fantastic. And I mean, when you look at opportunities like that, I mean, obviously, you've got quite a good business that can provide sweat equity. So you can inject your services in exchange for equity. Is that a common strategy that you use in these, or is it kind of part of the Shark Tank rules that you got to pony up the cash?
No, look, you have to basically pony up like the cash,
Mhm.
um, in those things, but I see it also like that's the further value add, right? Like a lot of these businesses, they're gonna need further funding or further support and issues, and it's like if most of these businesses that start, they don't have any employees, right? So they're doing everything, the customer service, the returns and whatnot. And so I can come in and I can put that business in an reasonable place that they wouldn't win, then that's what I'm going to do. So in that instance, it's like, of course, we give them the cash. I think it was 250 grand in cash. Wrote the check, gave them the money, and then we've provided further additional marketing support.
Hmm. I mean, have you ever explored that model or used that model in the past? Like,
I have, yeah.
done
It's
for
a model
equity?
that works very, very well
Yeah.
because like again, that's the thing that most people need. Like most businesses that don't need money for inventory, because with today's day and age, you can obviously, you can structure up the business in a way with inventory where you don't need to have a lot of inventory on hand,
Mm.
right? Especially as you're fulfilling from China or all of that kind of stuff. So then the bottleneck really becomes into, it's like if you have access to a credit card, then you have access to Facebook. And therefore, the game is how do we go out there and buy eyeballs and just make money, right? And flip that attention into money. And then you don't, if you know how to do that very, very well, then you're not having to go into the hole for long periods of time. And you don't need a lot of cash. You need a bit of working capital to get it all running. But the reason is that one, most people don't know how to do this stuff, and then they can't afford to pay someone at the stage that they are in to actually come and do it. So they can't afford to work with businesses like us, or agencies like us. So then it makes sense in those instances where we're like, hey, this business has got promise. How about we do this? And then we do a deal where, yeah, it's kind of equity for services.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, we see this really often in our kind of Harbor Club community, which is either consulting for equity or some kind of sweat equity position where you can really grow the shareholder value by participating in their business. So it's like the perfect win-win because, it's not just money, it's smart money.
Exactly. But the thing is, like, the devil's in the details on those deals because most people, they think that businesses sell. The vast majority of businesses are never going to sell. And so we like to structure up deals where there's some kind of dividend or royalty attached to it, where there's actually a way for us to recoup that money.
Yep.
Otherwise, you end up sitting up on all these businesses and you don't have any liquidity events. And it's like you're paper rich, but you're cash poor.
Absolutely. This is a fundamental issue that I see all the time, which is if you're a minority shareholder, you're basically a passenger.
Correct.
And you have to
An
have terms.
unpaid passenger.
Yeah, you have to have terms in the agreement around what happens to profits and what happens with the sale. So,
Indeed.
drag tag rights, preemption rights, dividend rights, all those things have to be agreed at the beginning. Otherwise, yeah, I bought a music school like 20 years ago or something. And that was my first lesson in not having, I had a shareholders agreement drafted by a proper lawyer, zero fucking rights. It was 30 pages of nonsense. I could have put all the clauses that mattered in 4 lines, it was,
Correct.
and those 4 lines weren't in there. So yeah, it's really, really important to have what happens to the profits and controlling the sale. Because the other thing is, from their point of view as well, if they've got a 20-30% shareholder and they want to sell their business and you don't, actually your intransigence can stop a transaction from happening. So if you don't have things like tag along or drag along rights in an agreement, you can find yourself, you've given a percentage to a finance director 10 years ago who's then left and gone off to another job, and you can't sell your business because you've got this small intransigent shareholder in there. So, shareholders agreements, having the right things are super, super important. And I'm guessing you're all over that in Shark Tank. And then, what's the future? I mean, just one question. You've got these gold discs in the background. I literally just had a Zoom call with somebody else that had platinum discs in the background because they were a music artist. What are those for? You have a
These
secret?
are all the millionaires that we've created. So we've got them all around the office where we just hit, I think it was 104 millionaires that we've created. So yeah, it's just like we send them a plaque and we have one in our office,
Awesome.
to celebrate. We've got all types of rituals in our agency. We ring the gong when we get a new client. We've got like a cowbell down the other end of the office that we ring when a client gets their first lead or sale. And then when they hit, a million, we get them a gold plaque. If they're doing like 10 or 20 or 30 or 50 million, we get them all the silver plaques. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's just it's a small little token.
Yeah, what an awesome idea. We actually only in our community, we only tracked it once, where we decided to, because we're an M&A community, we decided to look at how many exits there were because we never measured exits before. And I think we had about $80 million worth of exits in that year. We had it audited by a big top 20 global audit firm. And I think that was across about 20 different members of our community. But we never did it again because it was so hard to get information from people. Nobody wants to show you their bank accounts. They don't want to go, they don't want an auditor poking through everything. They're
Yeah.
worried the information's going to be made public and all this kind of stuff. So
Trust me, I know about it. We've generated $7.8 billion in reported client revenue, and everyone's like, "How come you haven't updated that number in so long?" And it's
yeah,
like, because I'm not like another guru that just guesses the number. Like I actually like audit the clients and get the client reported revenue. So like that number is well north of that right now, but I'm not going to come out and say what that number is until we do that process of finding out all the reported client revenue. So I've got to back it up.
yeah, and it's painful. It's like herding cats. I mean, when we got right to the end of the process, we published the report, and as soon as we published the report, like 4 or 5 people said, "Oh, I had a deal that year," and it's like we've been asking for like the last 9 months. So no, it just drives you. Yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice to share success, and it's really nice to show.
You got to.
But you,
Otherwise, it's
you've
like,
also got
you
to
you
sort of
get
then
caught
go
up in
again.
all of the day-to-day chaos and all the bad stuff that happens and fires and all of that kind of stuff, putting them out. You got to stop and take a moment and actually acknowledge these small wins because if you don't, they just fly by.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's fantastic. It's the best testimonial for new people to come and join you as well. So look, I've already taken up quite a bit of your time, but I'd like to just kind of wrap up by talking a little bit about the future. So you've obviously created this insanely good personal brand. You've built a great business for King Kong. You've got these angel investments going on. How do you see this evolving going forwards? Where do you see yourself moving the business and personally going forwards from here?
Yeah, so we've like got offices in LA and also in Melbourne. So the LA and the US side of the business is growing. I'm obviously growing like I kind of had the realization a while ago, like I was kind of structured in the wrong way where I was like a founder that ran an agency that was also like making content where it's like I need to have a media company that also has an agency. So like my business is like centered around solving the number one problem that all businesses face, which is how do I get more customers? And so we want to meet our customers wherever they are. And not all of them are ready for agency. They're not ready for all these things. So we've got like books, courses, SaaS and agency to solve that problem. So realistically, like what we're doing is now building the media arm to the business and building, a machine that enables us to reach all those customers, serve all those customers, and it's going to be to basically sell them a suite of products that's going to help them wherever they are on that journey, whether it's free content through YouTube or it's a book or it's a course or it's a program, a community, it's done for you, it's equity, whatever it might be. It's basically servicing that customer regardless of where they are, all fundamentally solving that number one problem.
Yeah. And where are you personally most active if people want to see what you're up to? Is it Instagram or LinkedIn?
Yeah, I'd say a combination of YouTube and Instagram.
Right. Okay. So people should follow you on YouTube, follow you on Instagram, and they'll get all the latest of what's going on in your world from there. And are you still on Shark Tank as we speak?
So it's not currently going to air anymore in Australia. So
Okay.
it's kind of at a halt right now. I think that a lot of traditional media are going through this transient time, or we're even seeing it in the US right now, and other markets with Shark Tank is like, I think a lot of these, since everything is removed not removed from free to air, but media is very fragmented right now. I think a lot of the traditional media channels, they are finding it problematic to sell sponsorship.
Yeah.
And so that's resulting in all television kind of cutting back with how many episodes go out, and how big these seasons look. I know in America they used to shoot for Shark Tank twice a year. Now it's gone down to I think half a season a year. So
Right.
we're in an interesting place where I don't think that model is going to be supported for much longer. So I think it's just on a bit of a hold.
And is that because businesses like yours have taken those budgets away from advertisers, basically?
I would say, right, like when I started, digital marketing accounted for like 10 to 15 cents out of every dollar spent. And today we sit here and it's 86 cents out of every dollar. So
I'm
it,
still amazed how much goes through Madison Avenue. I mean, there must be a lot of boozy lunches, for those billboard campaigns and those full pages in Vogue magazine and all that stuff. It's still an insane amount of money, isn't it?
it
Considering
is.
it's totally unmeasurable.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, look, awesome. It's been really great talking to you. I hope you have a fantastic winter down there in Melbourne, and yeah, obviously, wish you every success and everything. I'm going to keep a close eye on you going forwards, and I'd love to circle back in like a year's time and have have a further catch up. I'll also definitely get some of our portfolio companies to talk to your agency about some marketing campaigns. I don't really get involved in any of that, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there's value that could be added in all sorts of places. So yeah, it's been a
Terrific.
fantastic conversation. Thanks so much for giving up part of your day to spend time with us, and hopefully everyone found it valuable.
Terrific. I hope so. Thanks, Jeremy. Nice meeting you.
Thank you very much.